One of the most celebrated philosophical phrases ever coined, cognito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. But guess what? We might have been misunderstanding it all this time. So sit back as we uncover what Descartes really meant, and why this simple statement holds a deeper, more concrete truth than you ever imagined. Part 1. What is the cogito? In my last video, we looked at Descartes' method of radical doubt. He wanted to know what, if anything, could be certain, even if everything else could be false. He asked, what if I'm being deceived, by senses, by dreams, or even a malicious demon? He doesn't trust anything that can be doubted. But there's one thing that's impossible to doubt, as long as you're doubting. Here's the key insight: even if every single thing you perceive is false, even if your entire senses are illusory, you can't doubt that you're doubting. That's thinking. And if you are thinking, then you exist. Hence, cognito ergo sum becomes the one statement that survives radical doubt, not as a deduction, but as a living, immediate intuition. Is cogito a deduction? Or an intuition? Many people assume it's a logical deduction. Premise 1, what thinks exists. Premise 2, I am thinking. Thus, I exist. This reads like a standard syllogism. But Descartes himself disagreed with that structure. He said it's not a formal argument, it's an instantaneous recognition, an intuition. And that's a huge shift. Because a syllogism can be true even if you're not thinking about it. But cogito is only true when you're thinking it. This continuous, moment-to-moment awareness is what describes existence. So some scholars argue the most accurate translation is, I am thinking, therefore I am. Notice the shift, from a general existence to a presence in this moment. Part 3, why I am thinking, is more accurate. This isn't just a linguistic nuance. Suppose you say, I think, therefore I am, in the past tense, like, I thought, therefore I exist. That's problematic. Because maybe you aren't thinking now, just remembering that you thought once. But memories could be false. The demon might have deceived you about even your past thoughts. So the cogito must be tied to the now, to the ACT of thinking. Hence, the best rendering is, I am thinking, therefore I am. This assertion is true instantly and internally. Even the demon cannot remove it, because the demon can only fool you if you exist to be fooled. Part 4, why does this matter? You might be wondering, okay, so what? Here's why it matters. Foundational certainty. By grounding knowledge in undeniable self-awareness, Descartes established the first secure base on which to build all other knowledge. The mindbody distinction. The cogito shows what we are, thinking beings. It sets the stage for saying, the mind is better known than the body, since our senses can be doubted, but thinking cannot. The power of intuition. It emphasizes a profound truth: some knowledge is not derived from logic, but grasped immediately. Part 5, what about MIS translations? Here's the real kicker. In Latin his phrase was, cogito, ergo sum. In French, he first put it as, je pense, donc je suis. But into English, we get, I think, therefore I am. That translation can doctrinally suggest a timeline, implying that existence is something you know you have, not something you are continuing. But that's not what Descartes meant. He meant the matter-of-fact truth experienced in the moment of thinking. A truth that's alive. That's why some scholars argue for the continuous present rendering. I am thinking, therefore I exist. That phrase captures the presential, immediate thrust of Descartes' insight. Part 6, how to apply this in daily life. You might be asking, what's the practical value? SELF awareness. Whenever you doubt, you remind yourself, you are thinking, and therefore you exist. It puts you back in your power. Clarity of mind. Pay attention to the act of thinking itself. Observe your doubts, and in doing so, you anchor yourself in the certainty of being. Grounding yourself. In times of stress or uncertainty, you can return to the cogito as a grounding practice. Even if everything external collapses, your awareness remains. Part 7. Criticisms and Alternative Interpretations. User commentary. Many critics argue that the cogito depends on language, that it presupposes a functioning intellect, or that it defines existing too narrowly. Descartes might be cautiously overconfident in equating thinking with existence, because there might be modes of existence that don't involve conscious thinking. Others say it assumes a self that persists. Still, even contemporary thinkers acknowledge the power of his insight as a foundational moment for modern philosophy. Part 8. Modern Perspectives. Fast forward to today. Philosophers and neuroscientists ask, is consciousness always necessary for existence? Can AI ever replicate cogito if it can think? The line between thinking and existing is more debated than ever. We can trace modern discussions back to Descartes. Every time someone says, "Whoa, but how do I know I am?" they're echoing the cogito. Part 9. Final takeaway. To sum up, the cogito is not a syllogism, it's an intuitional ground. Its best English phrasing, I am thinking, therefore I am. It shows that SELF awareness is the first rock-solid knowledge. It paves the way to understand consciousness, existence, and the mind-body relationship. Ultimately, the cogito tells us, as long as you're engaged in thought, no matter the doubt, you are and must be. If you love this deeper look at the cogito, please like, subscribe.